Welcome back this last segment of the Fourth Estate, and we're discussing, with the law in their hands, the Public Order Management Act, the police and the events in Kampala, capital city, over the last week following the arrest, the multiple arrests, by the way, of former FDC President Dr. Kizza Besigye, Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago, and they were charged, and police has been waiving the Public Order Management Act, though they were not charged under that law. What does it mean for the politics in this country, and how do people move ahead to engage? We're debating the conduct of individual actors, the police, for example. Do you think, from your own experience, I understand the person who roughed you up downtown actually earned a promotion.
Yeah.
Kandu has just told us that Arinito was punished and basically put on Katebe since that incident. And the PSU, the Police Standards Unit, is one of the busiest, has been on, because they have had to handle a lot of cases. The question is, how Chris rises the string, tries to create the string between the politics and the implementation, where police just becomes an agency that is implementing, and individual police actors might become victims, like Arinitwe.
No.
No,
I can say.
Are they victims or not?
They can't be victims.
No, I think I agree with Chris. Behind the scenes, even when there was this walk to work, and we have cases, Makindi, Nakawa, you meet these police officers who tell you, you know what, we are also in a tight spot. It's hard. You people continue to exert pressure on this government. And I think government, over time...
Why can't they pick the courage? Why can't they pick the courage and say...
But have we built the momentum for them to do what the Egyptian military did?
Why haven't you?
Behind the scenes, I think we need to act as also in mobilization of our people.
Honorable
Not
Nabila,
just in Kampala.
Honorable Nabila, you're a member of parliament.
Yes.
You are in your second term in parliament.
Yes.
You were a councillor before that. What have you done? Why haven't you built that capacity?
I think behind the scenes we are trying to be, we can't really expose what we are doing to these people. You know, like if we sit here.
Then Charles, you are being unfair.
And you know what we do, what we are doing right in mobilization.
People look to you, Nabila, and say, from that humiliation, you kind of retreated.
Behind the scenes.
And I've been asking, what happened to Nabila? She's the woman MP for Kampala. Where has she been? What has been happening?
Just hold on, Nabila. Charles, that statement you keep making is you are trying to exonerate people from these processes. Who are these bystanders? Why do you bystand? Why is it Nabila? Nabila is only offering herself. What is your particular role? We keep saying, you know, it's about them, for us who are bystanders. Whom are they fighting for? You see, Charles, some of these issues...
Chris, doesn't that go back to what I started with, to say that deliberately you structure the politics in such a way that keeps
that is true.
People
but
away.
Now we are speaking to the people you are talking about. That you cannot keep commentating on the sidelines and say, let's wait for Nabila to deliver us from these shackles of enslavement. A country, Charles, is not a mobile phone company. That MTN disappoints you, you go to Warid. When you disappoints you, you go to Orange. Uganda is one. If Besigye cannot participate in politics in Uganda, Besigye cannot become a Rwandan. He can't become a Kenyan. He is a Ugandan. So he is trying to participate in the affairs of his country. Now you're not going to say, oh, these people are doing ABCD, you know, they're not supposed to be this. Yes, they have their weaknesses as political actors, but they are acting in whose interest? You're not going to go to Nabila and say...
What I can say is that he raises a very important question, which I always tell people. You meet people and they say, Honorable Nabila, we still want to see you. I say, well, I'm still this same person who goes to hospital, who gets these bills, who goes out the next day. Where are the others? If you're with us, where are you? Are you veiled? Are you locked up too? Behind the scenes, I think we need Ugandans to stand up with the activists. We don't want to see 10 activists permanently and people are getting used to them as if they're on stage. And that's why behind the scenes, there's this ridiculing of activists. Oh, they're on Katemba. That's comedy. That's what? Yes, because it's 10 people. So we want to call on Ugandans actually to say this is not an act for a few.
Let me ask the question last before you get out of here from you. Do you think the mistakes you have made as political actors on the opposition and to provoke some of these situations?
Well, I don't agree that we can act as strong individuals on behalf of the opposition. When there is a crisis, when there is a vacuum, yes, strong individuals emerge. But we need to work on the institutions. That's the political parties. And there is no institution called opposition. And that's why we get lost. Someone trades as opposition, but has no rules, because he's an individual, cannot be held to account, because accountability is also on both sides.
Can you please explain what you're saying right now?
Because I'm FDC. There's no way I say I'm opposition. Yes, FDC is in the opposition, but I'm FDC. That's what puts me in the opposition. There's no one who just floats back and say, now, when I want this, I'm in the opposition. Because there's a constitution in FDC. I'm guided, I'm held accountable. I go through primaries. I also know there are norms I need to follow, which are laid down in our constitution and party
Do those
platform.
norms extend to national law, like Kando
Yes,
said?
they do, because our party platforms are national documents. Our constitutions are national documents. They are not
I think
ours.
as you go to the other side, let me help put the issue into context. When we keep saying the opposition, I know they have their own shenanigans. That's not the focus of our discussion right now. I think the bigger picture is that there is lack of consensus brokerage in this country. And that's the bigger problem. We are seeing emergence of extreme forces. People who broker consensus within the state and outside the state are conspicuously silent. Now, when you
Why?
when you see basically shirt being torn, Mukago being held up, either it becomes amusement to some people. There is no group from within NRM, for instance, that says, no, these are not the ethos of our party. How best can we handle it? The religious groups, which are supposed to be at the center of consensus brokerage, are silent. They're either getting their pajeros, they're either fixing appointments to be the head of state, either the civil society that's supposed to broker this consensus is frowned at by both parties. The government thinks you are not for us. The opposition says, if you don't be with us, we don't believe you. So that lack of consensus brokerage is what you see extreme forces coming. It's why I was blaming the Kanduhos. We're supposed to be young people injecting in new ideas into the running of the state by NRM, are actually regurgitating the ideas they were being told when in primary one. Meaning that they have not actually picked new values that they would want to transform the running of the state.
Frank, let me turn to you. Inside the NRM, when you hold your discussions with young people in your generation, in our generation, to ask, where is the country going? When you see treatment of political actors the way they are treated by institutions that answer to your party, which is in government?
No, you see, for me, the thing is, we used to have a saying in secondary school, NTVUganda. There are certain political players that do NTVUganda in their conduct, and one such player is Vesige. Vesige is trying to do a NTVUganda. That's why I ask you a question: why isn't General Muntu treated the same way Vesige is being treated?
Why do you want to?
Why doesn't?
Why do you want?
Why do you want to prescribe how Vesige
yes, these are individuals.
Yes.
You just talked about police behaving in certain ways because of character.
Yes.
So why do you want Vesige to adopt a Muntu character to be acceptable to you,
but you see,
as a political player?
Yes, the point we are making is Muntu is a legitimate leader of a political party. This one has given way. Why isn't Vesige doing the bidding for the party, for the opposition, through the mechanism of General Muntu?
That's prescriptive.
No.
And who should do the prescription?
Do you engage government through a market stall at Kisenyi?
You have a voter in a market stall at Kisenyi who is a Ugandan, and you need to debate with them.
But this,
what is wrong?
But this is very Ugandan. This is very Ugandan. Needs to pay fees for his children.
Yes. What is wrong with Vesige
yes,
going to talk to that vendor in a market stall in Kisenyi if a Yoweri Museveni, who is a leader of another political party, can actually have one day almost closed because he's going to open a market there?
Yes.
And there is another Ugandan there.
The people have ceded their power to him. The people of Uganda ceded their power to the president, to Museveni. So when he makes a stopover at Kampiringisa, it is a legitimate stopover.
Yes, and out of 5 million
so the country belongs to one man.
No. Through a popular vote, we ceded our power to him.
Out of 5 million Ugandans who participated in the election in 2011, more than 2 million of them voted for Vesige.
We do not count those who have voted and lost. We count those who have voted and won.
And that's the
but you represent, you don't speak for the majority.
If that was to be the case, the person who stood against with Honorable Nabila would run the MP seat for half a year and then give way to Honorable Nabila.
You are a lawyer.
Yes.
You are now a Lord Councillor, and critics of the party in power look to many things. They say, one, you have structured the institutions of coercion in your favor to tell the politicians how to behave themselves. You have gone ahead and structured legislation using the power of numbers in Parliament to also prescribe how people should behave or shouldn't behave. Tomorrow, when you meet in the KCCA Council, you're going to say, no, because we have the power of the numbers, we petitioned and we are going to deal with Lukwago because we don't agree with him. He hasn't agreed with our prescribed way of dealing with matters of Kampala Capital City Authority. Is that the right way to propagate politics, especially for your generation and moving forward in a country that should be harmonious?
You see, Charles, really, let's not eat our cake and have it at the same time. This whole thing is a question of numbers. Face it, direct in the face, it's a question of numbers. Honorable Nabila is a member of parliament because she trounced her opponents. It's a question of numbers. I am a road, whatever you want to call me, it's a question of numbers. The one who I stood with got what they got, I got what I got, emerged winner. President Museveni is president on account of numbers. You certainly worked at the monitor because you sat an interview and the marks were such that you passed. You got a job. You came to NTV because you sat an interview and the people were impressed. They said you stood with Kando here, Kando doesn't merit here, he doesn't merit here, you merit. It's a question of numbers. The numbers will determine
the fraudulent election. That's
no.
what justify.
It's in politics. We are not going to go into fist fights. We are going to put questions to people.
Are you conscious to the
and
idea?
These people will answer these questions.
The idea that numbers in political contestations can actually also be manipulated?
Yes, I agree.
Yes,
I agree, especially in an environment of money, in an environment of poverty.
What meaning do numbers bring?
No.
There must be a meaning to number.
The point I am making is that if we have a political contestation, we are not going to go to Chingungu and Ngungu solve it. We are going to ask people to vote on it. They deliberate on it, they agree on it, or if they disagree, we let them tell us their disagreement through a vote.
Charles,
just a moment before you come in. Let me bring in Rodney into this discussion.
We didn't bring
this
Chris
debate of numbers.
Issue.
Yes, the question about if you treat people like this, because I see as a journalist, and you covering, both of us have been in the field covering some of these demonstrations and riots. The moment tear gas is being thrown, the moment the police is blocking off areas, it doesn't discriminate. Which, whether you voted for Museveni or voted for Besigye, everybody suffers.
Actually,
and
the
Kiboko squad beat everybody they met on their way. Now, doesn't this put responsibility to the political actors, especially those who have the power and the authority? Say, no. We need to find new approaches to dealing with these people, even when we have the power of numbers to pass legislation in parliament or to even the authority to deploy the police.
Absolutely. I mean, I ask myself all the time, what if the police left Kizza Besigye alone and didn't push him this way and that? Would there actually be violence in those rallies? I think, as I said before, the police are almost always acting with this sheer lack of confidence in themselves. They are afraid of what they don't even know will happen. And I'll give an example before you end the show, Charles. Every day these days, almost every day, I get an email from General David Sejusa, the former Tinyefuza. And he now sounds like the most passionate pro-democracy campaigner. 10 years ago, he was the most feared army officer in this country. How did that happen?
Actually, 5 years ago.
No,
How did that happen?
I'm afraid that time is up. We need to get out of here.
Charles, I want to end with talking about Chris' thing. I think we need to be proactive for Uganda as a country. And we cannot really run away from political brokerage. The people who can bring the extremes to a halt so that Uganda shines above our differences. And I think the NRM is not doing well, and I think as opposition we need to up our act. Unfortunately, when we continue, when you are independent-minded in the NRM, you're a rebel. In opposition, you're a mole. So both sides don't call for consensus building. So I don't know where we'll end.
Our time is up.
For NRM, Charles,
Chris, I'm going to...
NRM is run by old ideas. The young ones which are going there reason like they were in the bush.
You
when they were not born at time.
One thing I will need to debate again is if you say Besigye conducts himself in a way that causes him to be treated the way he does, how does he move from Kasangati, arrive in town, and nobody knows he's there, until the police arrives and tells us, Best is actually at Baguma restaurant.
It is
Then you
What
realize.
about a president who has opened up the
Our
banking
time is
sector
up.
and he carries money in his sacks like a village king?
Our time is out.
What
Thank you
would
very much.
say?
Thank you very much, Rodney Muhomuza, for making time for the show once again. Thank you very much, Frank. And congratulations on the election. We'll be watching what you do tomorrow. Thank you very much, Honorable Nabil.
But
Chris,
Frank,
thank you very much. Our time is out. Thank
injecting
you
your
very much
ideas.
to you all, our viewers, for joining us tonight and always. We'll continue these discussions next Sunday, right here on NTV on the Fourth Estate. Have a good evening.